Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. IRS issues information letters to advance child tax credit recipients and recipients of the third round of economic impact payments. Taxpayers should hold on to letters to help the 2022 filing season experience. IR 2021-255, December 22nd, 2021, Washington. The Internal Revenue Service announced today that it will issue information letters to advance child tax credit recipients starting in December and to recipients of the third round of economic impact payments at the end of January. Let's give a quick recap on these types of payments so we can understand what the letter is basically containing. The child tax credit, as you know, they have adjusted it for 2021. They're giving it out in advance payments, or at least part of it in advance payments. There's a similar situation with the economic impact payments in that they have this kind of advance payment type of setup. So let's start with the child tax credit. With the child tax credit, if there was no advance payment, what would normally happen is they adjusted the child tax credit that you would be getting for year 2021, typically when filing the return, which you would typically do by April 15th of 2022. They've increased the amount of the credit, and then they have also made more of it refundable, meaning that even if your tax liability goes below zero, you would still be basically receiving the credit. That means more people will typically receive it. It'll typically be a larger amount, and it should have made it easier for them to predict what the credit is going to be based on prior year tax returns or other information that they have, so that they can then send it out in advance. So they then are going to estimate the tax payments, or they already have at this point, and then take half of it, not the whole thing, but half of it, and send it out in the form of advance payments. If everything went well and correctly, you would have got the six advance payments for 6 months. So they sent out those advance payments in 2021. Now, of course, what that means for the tax filing is the tax filing becomes a little bit more complex, because now you're going to have to file the tax return by April 15th of 2022, figure out what the credit is going to be, which is different than the prior year. So it's going to be changed. It might be a little bit easier because you don't have that, more of it is going to be a refundable type of credit. So it could be a little bit easier in that sense. But then you're going to have to find the prepayments that you got during the year, which, if everything went correctly, I believe will add up to half of the credit, and then subtract that out, meaning that you're going to get a benefit when you file the tax return of half of the full credit, which again is substantial given the fact that they increased the credit for year 2021. So that's the general rule there. The same thing is going to be true for the economic impact payments. You'll recall there's 3 of them now. You might call them stimulus payments, economic impact payments. They're also tied to the recovery rebate credit. So the way you want to think about that is a similar way as the child tax credit, in that the economic impact payments are a prepayment of the recovery rebate credit. So the recovery rebate credit, the third economic impact payment, was related to the recovery rebate credit for 2021 in a similar way as the advanced child tax credits are related to the child tax credit for 2021 that you would get when you file the tax return, but they're trying to send it out in advance. So the same kind of thing applies to that third round of the stimulus payment. They tried to predict what it would be if you were to file the tax return and give them the actual information, which should be easier with regards to the economic impact payment because they made it very, straightforward. There's still a phase out with it, an income limitation, but they should be able to be pretty accurate. So you should have hopefully gotten the correct amount of the economic impact payment. And if you did, then the filing of the tax return should be fairly straightforward with that one, but you still want to double check it, because what you're going to do there is say, did I actually get the full amount of the recovery rebate credit in the form of an advanced economic impact or stimulus payment? If I did, then I'm not going to get any more benefit when I file the tax return, because I would have gotten the full thing as a prepayment. So if everything went correctly with that one, then you shouldn't really have to do anything, but you just want to verify that everything went correctly by being able to verify that you got the full payment in the form of a prepayment. If you didn't get the full payment in the form of a prepayment, that's when you get the recovery rebate credit, because that's going to shore up the difference. Now remember, with the economic impact payment, you're only talking about the third economic impact payment, because the first 2 economic impact payments were tied to the tax year of 2020, and the same scenario took place, except that the recovery rebate credit would have been tied to the 2020 tax return and then filed in 2021. So it's same relationship, but it's just in the prior year. So we're only talking about when we're thinking about 2021 tax return, which is going to be filed by April 15th, 2022. We're only talking about the third economic impact payment with regards to it. Now, you're going to get these forms that will hopefully tell you how much you got with the advanced child tax credit and the economic impact payments that you will need when you do your taxes or when you give that information to somebody else for their tax preparation. And you might even also, and if you're a tax professional, I would advise that you might try to get into your tax portal on the IRS website, which you're getting better and better at managing, so that if there's a question about these things, because you know if you're a tax professional, this is going to come up with every return. Did you get your recovery rebate credit? Did you get your advanced child tax credits? Did they get it right or not? And if they don't have that documentation, possibly they can get that on the portal if they log into their account on irs.gov, which can be a little bit tedious to set up. So you might want to advise people to get them set up now so that you can make your tax filing season a little bit easier by having logged in case you don't have these forms, and get any information you need from there, including these advanced payments, possibly, hopefully, and any kind of payments that have been made should be there. So, okay, so back to the text. Using this information when preparing tax return can reduce errors and delay in processing. The IRS urged people receiving these letters to make sure they hold on to them to assist them in preparing their 2021 federal income tax return in 2022. Watch for Advanced Child Tax Credit letter to help taxpayers reconcile and receive all of the child tax credit to which they are entitled. The IRS will send letter 6419-2021 Advanced CTC Child Tax Credit starting late December 2021 and continuing into January. The letter will include the total amount of advanced child tax credit payments taxpayers received in 2021 and the number of qualifying children used to calculate the advance payment. People should keep this and any other IRS letter about advanced child tax credit payments with their tax records. Families who received advanced payments will need to file a 2021 tax return and compare the advanced child tax credit payment they received in 2021 with the amount of the child tax credits they can properly claim on their 2021 tax return. The current contents important information that can make preparing their tax return easier. People who received the advanced CTC payment can also check the amount of their payments by using the CTC update portal, which is available on irs.gov. There's a link to that here. Eligible families who did not receive any advanced child tax credit payment can claim the full amount of the child tax credit on their 2021 federal tax return filed in 2022. This includes families who didn't normally need to file a tax return. So, again, the idea there is you got the advance payment. You're going to have to calculate the actual payment on the tax return, and then the difference between what you already got and the actual credit is what you would receive. If everything went properly, I believe that would come out to half of the calculated credit. So economic impact payment letters can help with the recovery rebate credit. So these two things are the same. You want to think about this as the same relationship. So you got the economic impact payments, which is what most people know these as, or stimulus payments, but they're actually advance payments of the recovery rebate credit. Same relationship here as with the advanced child tax credits and the child tax credit. The child tax credit being what you actually calculate when doing the tax return. The advance payments being the advance payment that went out before you filed the tax return. Here, recovery rebate credit is the thing that you would actually calculate on the tax return. Economic impact payments or stimulant payments are the advance payments related to it. But it's the full payment instead of a partial payment. So if they did everything well, if everything went properly, it washes out so that you don't really have to do anything, unlike the child tax credits where you're only going to get a maximum of half in advance. So if everything went properly here, then you don't have any recovery rebate credit because you got it all in the advance payment, which is the economic or stimulus payment, the economic impact payment or stimulus payment. Okay, so the IRS will begin issuing letter 6475, the third economic impact payment, to EIP recipients in late January. This letter will help economic impact payment recipients determine if they entitled to and should claim the recovery rebate credit on their tax return year 2021 tax returns that they filed in 2022. Letter 6475 only applies to the third round of economic impact payments that was issued starting in March 2021 and continued through December 2021. So remember, there's two other economic impact payments. They relate to 2021 tax year, and so you still have the same relationship, but it's in the prior year. The third round of economic impact payments, including the quote plus up end quote payments, were advance payments of the 2021 recovery rebate credit that would be claimed on a 2021 tax return. The plus up payments were additional payments the IRS sent to people who received a third economic impact payment based on a 2019 tax return or information received from SSA, RRB, or VA, or to people who may be eligible for a larger amount based on their 2020 tax return. Most eligible people already received the payments. However, people who are missing stimulus payments should review the information and determine their eligibility and whether they need to claim a recovery rebate credit for tax year 2020 or 2021. Like the advanced CTC letter, the economic impact payment letters include important information that can help people quickly and accurately file their tax return. More information about the Advanced Child Tax Credit, economic impact payments, and other COVID-19 related tax relief may be found on IRS.gov. As the 2022 tax filing season approaches, the IRS urges people to make sure an accurate tax return and use electronic filing with direct deposit to avoid delays. So there's links to some of that information here. There'll be a link to this in the description.